Every attempt towards success is heralded by an unwavering sense of belief, our ability in our ability. Good morning to one and all present here. Little Flower School is one of the most accomplished schools of Jamshedpur, served by our attention to excellence in extracurricular activities alike. Quantum is Little Flower School's celebrated Inter-School Fest, which annually witnesses eager participation from ardent students all over the city. Cynosure is Quantum's renowned oratory event, with its first round being a cogent group discussion on pressing topics. We are pleased to have Mrs. Jayashree Sharma as our judge for today's group discussion. Mrs. Jayashree Sharma needs no introduction to the denizens of the city. She has been associated with academia for more than 3 decades now and has molded, shaped, and fired the imagination of hundreds of young minds, having joined the teaching faculty quite early on in life. Teacher Jayashree's first love has always been debating, public speaking, and of course, interacting with her students. Being herself an interpretive personality, she's always taught her students to be fearless and put forth their cogent arguments with confidence and conviction. We move forward with the introduction of the event. Prelims of Cynosure will be a group discussion. Think of the group discussion as a flowing conversation on the given topic. That is, everyone must get a chance to speak with no interruptions or arguments directed at individuals, only at opinions. Don't get defensive if someone disagrees with you. Evaluate both points and stand up for what you believe is right. Be proactive and listen respectfully. Listening is just as important as speaking. Ultimately, don't stress out, have fun with it. The rules for the event are as follows. Participants will ensure that the cameras are switched on throughout the discussion. Group mentioning your school name at any point in the group discussion. Do not dominate the conversation. Everyone must get a chance to speak. No arguments must be directed at individuals, only at ideas or opinions. Refrain from using inflammatory language. Do not interrupt any participant. Listen respectfully and actively. Understand the other's viewpoint. The topic for today's discussion is forced conscription into military when a citizen turns 18 can be justified on nationalistic and patriotic grounds. I would request one of the participants to please start the discussion. All the best.
So I would like to bring to our notice the fact that the current humanitarian crisis that we are facing in Afghanistan. See, due to the radicalization of the youth and people joining the Taliban, that is how the whole country has been taken over today. And I somehow feel that forced conscription into the army, when the young men and women being drafted into the army, would really help stop this radicalization and also aid to the growth of the nation, because I really feel that these young people are capable of a lot of things. They are filled with passion and energy that can drive the nation to great heights. Also, if you take the example of a lot of established countries like France and then Russia and China and Israel, all these countries, practice conscription in some form or the other.
Good morning, one and all. Team Sirius, would you like to go forward?
If I could, please.
Oh, sure.
I will have to disagree with what was said. In my opinion, I feel like the passion that was being referred to by the other delegate here is 100% justified, but at the same time, that same passion is being taken away from young individuals, because usually conscription lasts from 10 months to 2 to 3 years. So in that time, people are taking away from the economy They could have been serving as taxpayers. They could have been serving to ensure that the GDP grows. It takes away from those very crucial years of your life. So I would have to say that forced conscription is definitely, in my opinion, not justified. A, because everybody has choice, and I feel like in this particular scenario, some loopholes should be pointed out, mainly because forced labor is illegal under the UN and pretty much every constitution in the world. However, forced military service is not. That to me seems like a loophole. Another reason why is because military service is not just dangerous to your life, but at the same time, it also gives you skills that are extremely dangerous, especially because of US's gun problem that we're all aware of, started from the military service. And everybody, the gun problem in US is because they're all skilled at using guns. And because you know how to use one, you would be tempted to use it even after the military service gets over with. At the same time, you will be taken away from your ideas and your power to think originally, because you will be serving blindly under an authority. It takes away from your originality and authenticity, in my opinion. So yeah, that's all for now.
I feel that the conscription citizens and do good for their nations and for themselves, because the key point here is that the conscriptions instill a sense of discipline in all the cadets.
I am listening to all the points, and I would like to disagree with all of them one by one. Firstly, with the gun problem, I'm not talking against the Fifth Amendment. I'm 100% aware of it, and it's about self-defense. But at the same time, the problem started because people went beyond the ability to just use it as self-defense. People were misusing it, and that somehow, of course, is related to US Afghanistan and US citizens serving in Afghanistan, and that's where the problem started. But that's not what we're dealing with here. What I am talking about is the fact that they've been giving skills that could be used in more ways than what's just given in the Constitution, and that is wrong. And when it comes to showing discipline or being disciplined and showing patriotism, I feel like there are many other ways you could do that. I've never served in the military, and my parents have never served in the military. However, they are tax-paying citizens of this country, and I feel like that's patriotism in its own way. You don't have to risk your lives to show that. And then at the same time, I also don't think that you serving under an authority that basically shapes you to function as a robot for 3 years straight and takes away from those crucial years of your life when your mind is building, when you're the most active, and you should go out and serve yourself as first as individuals, is also going to take away from your personality in the long run. So I would have to disagree with you.
I would like to intervene. A very good morning to one and all. First, I would like to present my opinion on what is conscription. It always is seen as a negative connotation when we talk about military conscription. However, I agree with both the teams, Team Sirius and Team Auriga, that it has a negative as well as positive impacts. When I talk about the positive impacts, then I would definitely agree with it that it instills discipline. Moreover, other than discipline, it also is very helpful tool to bridge the gap between the haves and the have-nots. Because when we talk about our country, our own motherland, India, there is a social, economic, ideological, all kinds of diversities, people of different types, different cultures, different languages, and therefore military. But I would not agree with Sirius that those who participate or those who are a part of the military, they are robots. Not at all. If they would have been robots, then nobody, even I would never feel like being a part of our military, of being a part of the military of such a great nation. We all are dying to serve the nation in one way or the other. And being a part of the military or the army or the air force is just, mesmerizing, the top of the world, the biggest achievement that anyone can get. Moreover, I think that always we cannot consider that military is just an ideology of war. It cannot be an ideology of war. It is service to nation. We have to understand things that it is a service to nation. We cannot consider it to be an ideology of war. When I talk about facts, when we talk about the first conscription in military, that which we trace back to the French Revolution, it was in 1790s. And when we actually talk about when this conscription started, it was in the state of Qin, earlier known as Qin. This is China. in 221 BC, where they did not want to just forcefully admit the people into our military and army, but they wanted to build a strong, a youthful, a reliable, and energetic, optimistic, highly capable of fighting all odds, that kind of army. And I think that, yes, forceful conscription is definitely a negative thing, because we take away very much from the people who actually need time. We all want to serve for our country, we all want to serve for our nation, but when we are forced to do something, we don't do that with that much capability that we already have. In India in 2018, the Indian defense, I would like to frame Indian Parliamentary Committee of Defense. It recommended that every aspirant who wants to join central or state services, gazetted services, they would get a 5-year compulsory military training. And this, they said, not just because they wanted to just fill in the army with compulsory people who actually don't want to participate. They wanted to do this so that they can have a strong army. Today, we were able to fight with Pakistan. We all remember after the 14th February, that 44 lives were gone. When we fought with Pakistan, that was all because of our youthful army, or that was all because of the diligent army. That was all because of the army that was not serving under the authority of any government. That was all because of the army that was serving on their own will, on their own personality, on their own wishes. I don't think that if we talk about other countries, I would definitely like to talk about my own country. And my own country never does that. Even the Article 23, it states that of the Constitution, that forced labor and begar is highly prohibited by the Indian Constitution. But the makers of the Constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar ji, he had very well written in it that the state has full right to compulsory allow people for public services, for public benefit. And Dr. B.R. Ambedkar ji, we know how intelligent he was. He would never do such things if he knew what would be the problems and outcomes of that particular concept in the future. I don't think that in India especially, that this is creating any problem. People are participating on their own choices, and I would definitely go with what our country is doing. I'm very proud of it. Thank you so much.
I would like to pitch in, because I feel there's a symbolism I would like to draw in here. Like, if we give a hammer to a madman, to a man without wisdom, he will smash anybody's head with it. He'll kill people with it. But if we give the same hammer to an artisan, he can carve out beautiful things out of stone, out of different materials. So that's what I feel. The whole opportunity of, being conscripted into the army is like that hammer. It's up to the, wisdom of the cadet to take it positively or just take it in a negative way. But I feel the academy, the training, all the disciplining processes instill that key, factor of discipline inside the cadets. Also, as very skillfully stated by my fellow, India's situation with Pakistan back in the day was very tense. That time, young people, like my neighbor is a person who was, drafted into the Air Force back when Kargil war was on. He, contributed to the win of the nation. That's how conscription is important for the development of the nation, because it enhances the defensive capability of a country. Also, my fellow was talking about tax-paying citizens. Tax-paying citizens are often not, free enough, or they are privileged enough to ask questions. They are privileged enough to ask the government, file PILs, to ask where their money went, but they often don't have the time. Well, that somehow gets solved by the conscription process, because if you have that big of a force being educated, being trained, and being organized, then it adds to a layer of, accountability for the government, so that they become a little bit more answerable about their policies, about their treatment to the people, about what they do to the nation. I would like Orion to pitch in. I mean, we should have a...
Hi, Generation Z. This is Orion, Team Orion. And I would definitely like to go on the topic, which is forced conscription. We should focus on that. Forced conscription is something that we are forced to do without our will. And what about being youth, the most important critic of today's generation? We all know that how everything is revolving around the youth. Every decision, everything, youth is the most important critic of today's society, and we can't deny the fact. Had military conscription been scientifically proven, in which we believe nowadays that everything that needs to be adapted in every country, every citizen, and every people of the country, that should be scientifically proven, I think that is the main important focus, because we are living in generation Z. Of course, Z. We are not living in 1940s or 1950s where we have been enslaved by some people and we have to do whatever they want us to do. No, we have a well developed mind, we have a well developed constitution, we have got well developed country. Forced conscription would be really a help for the people, but still some countries have it. What about the youth? Youth is the very important factor of a country, and they should not introduce that everything that is being imposed on mental affection towards anything. Definitely, if we are forced to, as Team Lupus said, that everything that is being forced onto, that does not bring so much creativity until and unless it is being done at our own will. So I believe that forced conscription is definitely does not bring nationality and whatever it is, nationalistic feeling among people, because they have to do it by force. They have to leave their family, they have to leave all their wills, they have to leave all their action, and just have to devote to the, because they are being forced to do that. Thank you.
I would like to chip in certain points I've heard from, I think it was Team Lupus, mentioned how each of any country would like to serve their country from, or
I think there's some
yeah.
The total Indian population pays tax, and I don't feel that patriotic Indians, those who are patriotic Indians or truly nationalistic, they can be called truly nationalistic or true Indians just by paying taxes. So I would never ever agree to that point that by paying tax I would become a true.
Am I clear now?
Yes.
Okay, good. I would just like to say that around the point that Team Lupus made about citizens feeling that they need to serve the country in some way or the other, and then saying that tax paying is not one of those ways that is worthy enough to be considered as patriotic. I think there's a problem with that in some way or the other, because I feel like some of these opinions are coming from some place of ignorance, because it's easy for us to see military service as something that makes us more patriotic without knowing the ins and outs of it. And in my personal opinion, I feel like you taking about 3 years of your life out to serve under the military forcefully, as what the topic states, is something that we're missing out on. Forcefully is wrong, because we all have the right to choose and we have the right to our will to do what we want. So I don't think that this has to be the only way historically to show patriotism as well, because if you look back at history as well, we have seen that people have shown patriotism without being involved in any war, without being involved in the biggest, historical moments. They've not been all when it comes to being in a battlefield, shooting your opponent. It's more than that. And in my personal opinion, I would also like to say that we sitting here as privileged citizens of this country, we are in this event together online through our phones. We are coming from a place of privilege, and it's very easy for us to look at these situations and make judgments about it, in the sense that it will make us better human beings or better citizens or more patriotic. But at the same time, I would disagree, because I have seen people, and historically in my personal life, in the whole world, who are known figures who have shown patriotism without ever being in a battlefield or without ever serving in the military. So especially because it's forced, then that just makes it worse, in my opinion. So there are countries who do that, and I'm not blaming anybody's constitution, because there have been instances where people have made it mandatory and it has worked out very well for them. But then at the same time, I would not agree with this, because I personally would not be comfortable taking so much time out of my life doing something that I feel like I can do in other ways, in other better ways rather.
As I
Uh,
earlier
yes, Lupus, you can go.
as I in the beginning only I said that everything has, I mean, like a coin which has two sides, heads and tails. Similarly, there are certain controversial statements which have both the negative as well as positive sides. So I also agree to what Sirius says, that I too could not give out my life doing something that I would not be able to perform wholeheartedly, diligently, but people expect me to do that, and I would not be able to stand on my feet and stand up to their expectations. Forced definitely is a very has a very extremely negative connotation with it. Even if we talk about military or any other sphere, forced has always been something which we look with hatred in our eyes. Yeah, I agree with Sirius. I agree with Origa also, that whatever. But yeah, I also agree with this fact that when we, as I already said, that it's not all about ideology of wars, it's about service to the nation. We can definitely do that without being a part of the military. If we take the historic examples of our own Indian independence, we know so many people who just gave out their everything. They even went on, they just fought for Indians, they fought for their motherland, they fought for the sovereignty of India. They hung themselves, they killed themselves, they let themselves die because of the entire battle, but they were not a part of the military. The military killed them, but they were all civilians. But they were patriotic. They were the ones who patriotic and nationalistic in nature. Need to be a part. Even if we do a small art act of random kindness, we will definitely prove to be a good Indian, responsible, matured. Definitely, by hoisting a national flag with full vigor, with full zeal, with full respect in our hearts, singing our national anthem with in a straight posture, with everything that we have in our heart, with positive feeling, that also makes us patriotic, not just being in a military. Yes, definitely forced conscription is very wrong, but I don't think that that is practiced in India. So I would definitely go on with what my country
I would
does.
like to address the fact that we are calling it forced conscription and we are looking down to the word forced. It's not like you're being forced into concentration camps, not given good food, and not given proper amenities. It is a proven fact that across the globe, wherever conscription happens, be it forced, be it voluntary, all the time, the amenities are up to the mark. There's a very handsome stipend being paid to the cadets. Like even in India, if we think about it, like a new graduate earns about 30,000 to 45,000 or 50,000 a month. If he's like handsomely paid, that's also the salary of a cadet in the armed forces in India. Also, I would like to mention that like they are being paid, so it's not like they're being forced and they have to do it against their wills. That's the fact.
I would
And
like
what
to read
anything
a news.
that is being forced means what it kills your moral state, kills your physical state of mind, and of course the mental state. So looking more onto the topic, that is forced conscription, whether it would have been imposed in our country also, and I being one of the most important critic of my country would not like to go in that field. If I have to do something that suits my capability, that brings me up in all the way, why would I like to go to that field? But still, if we not take something that is related to the countries, if we go to the youths and the parents, the very simple example, many of the students, many of the children have to follow something that their parents want to do, and they have to go and they have to kill their self-esteem just because financially they are not stable, or they are being forced by their parents. No, you have to do this course, you have to do this, means you have to do, whether it's forcibly that is being encountered by some people, or whether it is mentally onto you, but you have to do. But at the end, you end up getting zero salary, you kill your expectation, and you could have done more better in your life by following your dreams and aspirations, but you didn't, just because that was being forced. That was not, that was liable for you, that was a liability for you, which you have to incur by the time, like we do debtors, creditors, if we talk in terms of accountancy. So we have to pay that liability to our parents, and if that would have happened in the terms of countries, then living in a country would become very difficult for someone, because
I'm sorry, participants. We need to wind up in 5 minutes. So,
All right. I like to say, I would like to make one thing very vivid to all my fellows, that the world is not run by the policies, drawn up by economists and capitalists who sit in privileged places, who have fancy vacations. The run is world by people on the ground who choose to give their time to a bigger cause, who choose that their life means more than just themselves. Also, there's a very bad notion around here, I feel. I would like to tell all my fellows that the conscription process is one of honor and of dignity. All the necessary, all the necessary amenities are provided to the cadets, and the stipend is very handsome. Also, I would like to tell you all that the armed forces, the people who conscript, the authority, the administration has gone out to provide vocational courses and other courses. Like, I have an uncle of mine who joined the Signal Corps after he did his BTech. He worked there for a while, and then the army sponsored his education abroad in Germany, where he learned with the best faculty of the world about his particular trade. He came back and he is now serving as our nation, and he's like stationed in Ladakh as a commanding officer. He's doing
Auriga, you're not audible. Sorry to interrupt.
Can I just say something one second? Okay. I would like to bring a new side of this discussion that has not been mentioned by anybody. It's very common in this world that people who are refugees, who are from places of political, social unrest, find that it's important for them to leave their homeland and move to other countries where they find refuge. Instances of this is seen in Canada and US very commonly. And it's very rampant that those people, those refugees who come from those places of so much unrest and they've dealt with so much of violence in their lives, are now again forced to serve military for citizenship in those countries that they're going to seek refuge in. In my opinion, how is this immoral? It's because you're completely ignoring the fact that those are people who have seen the worst scenarios. Nobody would want to leave their countries willingly to go to another one. They've seen the worst of scenarios, and now they've been asked to go through it all over again. And this is not just immoral, but it's also ignorant, because you are completely overlooking their plight. And at the same time, I think that whenever we use the word forced with anything, no matter, people look at them and see that they're privileged. They look at them and feel like at the end of the day, you are going to live in a safe place. Look at yourself, you will be in a place of privilege after that. It's just a matter of a couple of months, maybe a few years that you have to deal with all of this. But what they ignore is that they've been dealing with that all their life. And it's not just sad that this is very rampant and relevant in today's world, but at the same time, we tend to ignore the weightage of the word forced, because these people are already going through enough. So when it comes to situations like this, I would also 100% disagree. No matter how disciplined it makes you, no matter how obedient it makes you, no matter how much experience it gives you, this is not the way you need to tell people that go serve in the military for 3 years and I'll know you're patriotic towards my country and then you can have your citizenship. This is not the way the world should work, in my opinion.
I'd like to
totally agreeing with Sirius and
conclude
contradicting Auriga. I would like to say that Sirius, you spoke means some points that were really criticizing for the country if they go for forced patriotism. Definitely anything that is being forced would not lead to peace. if the pillar is not being made so strong, how would a building be made? So definitely, I believe that even if in our country a forced nationalistic and patriotic feelings is being enforced in the people, like you have to follow this, you have to do this for sure, living to your family, your all your aspirations, all your dreams, just because you have to live in the country. How would someone survive, man? Really, it's so bad to say that if we ourselves are being forced to kill everything, and we know that it's not, we are not devotee. Had someone being so devotion, have got so devotion towards any country, they would have definitely joined the military by themselves. So why would a forced patriotic feeling should be induced in themselves, so that at the times of war every citizen is ready with the guns and with the armed forces, so that they are ready with everything? What about other aspirations of the youth? What about doctors? What about scientists? What about youth who is the painter of the world that is going to be for the next 20 or 30 years? What about the generation Z? If we are talking about today's generation and we are talking about the topic and we are getting into that, then what about today's generation? If it would have been given such, do we all believe that people don't even think of their parents and they start arguing even if they're forced to do something that does not suits their mind? So how we feel that a forced patriotic feeling, and we can say that okay, you have to join the defense? How it is possible? I don't know, Auriga. Whatever facilities they provide, with the medication, with the vocational courses, even a proper education system they provide, but still that does not leads to their peace of mind. Their mental state would not be the same, because they are being at the means enslaved. They have means, if we can in common say in common terms, it is being enslaved upon them. So whatever it is, they are being forced. Their mental state is beaten down, their moral state is beaten down, and of course, how something that is being mentally affected would not affect the physical state? Of course it would affect. So
So I feel as a group we can
We shall
so
now
as a group
wind
we
up.
can conclude.
Someone, participants, please one of the participants, please summarize.
Can I?
Yeah, so as a group, I feel we can conclude by saying that we feel that forced conscription is not a bad thing if you look at it, but there should be, you know, necessary arrangements made, like for vocational activities and for proper you know, treatment of people with disabilities, like PTSD, like my fellow delegate mentioned about refugees. They should not be forced into it, but they should be helped with their disabilities, may it be physical or mental. Also, our group as a whole thinks that conscription is not a bad thing, but also the aspirations of the young cadets should be kept in mind and should be catered to by the administration and by the army and by the armed forces, so that they could lead into you know, they could grow into patriotic and nationalist individuals. At the same time, they could have a personal development in their life, and they could go on to become awesome human beings.
Thank you, participants. I would now like to invite our judge, Mrs. Sharma, to put her insights on this topic.
Good morning, students. It has been a great pleasure. It's been a wonderful morning listening to all of you and putting forth your side of the picture. It was truly a very enlightening and invigorating session. I must say that it was. I had a hard time judging each one of you because everyone was so kind of, you know, vocal and they had their own individual point of view, which they were, like, you know, holding it dear to themselves. But also there was a lot of, I saw that was a very, very good thing about all of you, that there was an open-mindedness to accept somebody else's point of view, because there is no just one rigid one side of the coin. It always has a second side to it, which you all were willing to take in. And I would just want to, since the topic is something which is at the moment very alive in all our minds, considering the Afghanistan issue. We've all been wondering that if Afghanistan had a proper army, we probably think that the people of Afghanistan wouldn't be in such dire straits that they are in. They would all be definitely at least have a fighting chance to save their country, instead of just abandoning the whole country at the whim of the Taliban. So somewhere we've also had the background of China. China has always been one country that has gone on to force their people, anyone and everyone under over and above the age of 18, they have been forced into compulsory military service. But we have also had a very important angle that wherever you go into force somebody, that makes it a very strongly kind of a negative impact. The forcefulness of any action, as you all have rightly pointed out, makes it kind of denigrating. You just want to stay away from it because you're suspicious about the intent of the whole program. And somewhere, of course, it's very important also that it's not just you need a strong military, not just to prepare for war, but to maintain peace. It's very important. That is a strong military can be a very intimidating force, and that for any neighboring country or for any enemy who would want to just kind of encroach upon one's sovereignty. So in all of this, I see that there is a mixed bag of feelings that we all are experiencing, that we do need a lot of people inducted into the army. And at the same time, another very important thought that came to my mind as I was listening to you all, that yes, it is very true that it's not necessary that if you're just paying your taxes and you're being very, I would say, you're proving your nationalism or your patriotism, because we've always had people who are just into their jobs and doing their they may be doing what they're doing in a very sincere way, but somewhere or the other it's kind of a more selfishly driven motive. It's always the I, me, myself kind of a syndrome, and in which case you really applaud the soldiers. Today, if we are safe, we are having this debate, we are breathing the air. This morning I was thinking of the chaos that is taking place in Afghanistan and what kind of horror, the unspeakable horrors those people must be going through. And while we are safe and sound in our houses, maybe complaining about small things like, oh my God, we've got to go to school, or we've got this and we've got that. Whereas that country is completely routed and devastated. And that what has made the difference, that we have our army here. They have been the ones who have been, the strong guardians, the sentinels of our borders and securing our peace. So I feel, that is a great sacrifice. And in all of this, we must understand the importance of, voluntary military service, which speaks volumes for our own commitment to our country. And at the same time, like others have also said, even the scientists or maybe other people who are contributing to the country's overall development and image, even they are doing their bit. So we all have to be awake and alive to this particular reality. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Those were some enlightening words.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you, Mrs. Sharma. We shall all take away something very nice from it. All the participants have put up a spectacular display. Thank you for taking part. I would now like to take the opportunity to present the vote of thanks for today's event. I would like to thank our principal, Sister Hilda, for providing a platform to students to explore their skills, challenge themselves, and push their boundaries. I would like to express my gratitude to the eminent judges of Cynosure for taking out their time and joining Little Flower School. in identifying young talent, to all the principals and the teachers in charge and the participating students, to enthusiastically respond to ELPIS's call to join us in this with extraordinary endeavor. The exciting vision of Cynosure would have been non-existent without the incessant guidance of our teachers and valuable inputs and hard work of all the students and staff in charge of organizing this event. Congratulations to all the participants for a fabulous performance. Last but not the least, thank you to the audience for gracing this event with your presence. Thank you.
Congratulations, Team Cynosure. Wonderful work done.